My name is Katie and I work as a nurse. My husband Jack has recently become a full-time house husband. Until a short while ago, Jack was employed at a company, but he decided to resign on his own, saying he couldn't get along with his new boss. When he told me, I was upset that he made such a big decision without consulting me first. However, I tried to look on the bright side, thinking it was probably for the best that he left before the situation affected his mental health. Even though Jack no longer brings in an income, I have a stable job as a nurse and we live in a house that my mother left me when she passed away a few years ago. With no rent to worry about, we're able to live comfortably. Initially, I was anxious and stressed about my husband not working anymore. But as I saw how well he managed the housework, I gradually got used to it and even started to enjoy this new routine. One day, I came home from work to find my sister-in-law, Brittany, visiting us. "Welcome home, honey. Hope you had a great day at work." "Oh, I think I forgot to mention that Brittany was coming over. Sorry about that, haha." I have to admit I was a bit annoyed with Jack's nonchalant attitude, but then again it had been a while since I'd seen him so happy. "I see, it's totally fine, but could you please let me know next time in advance?" When I asked him that, Jack agreed and suggested that it was time for Brittany to head home. Response, Brittany said, "Already? I don't want to go home yet. This house has plenty of space, so I think I'd like to stay over tonight." I glanced at Jack, and he quickly responded, clearly flustered, "No, no, Brittany, it's too sudden. For today, please head home." Brittany shot me a glare before storming out, clearly upset. Why did Brittany come over today? Isn't it quite a distance for her? Jack sighed. Actually, Brittany recently got divorced. She had nowhere else to go, so she moved back in with our parents. But their apartment is really small, and they've been pressuring her to find a job and start contributing financially, which makes her feel unwelcome. I felt sorry for her. As I listened to my husband, I felt frustrated, not understanding why he felt sorry for her. But then Jack admitted, "I'm sorry about today. I've been trying to find a job but haven't had any luck. I just wanted someone to talk to for a change, so I let her in." I was upset with Jack for acting so selfishly, but I realized that he needed this support right now, so I responded, "All right. It's true that it's better to have someone to talk to than to be alone in a situation like that. But next time, please call me first and make sure she leaves before I get back, okay?" I wondered if I was spoiling Jack too much, but since I made sure to remind him about keeping me informed, I decided to let it go for the day. 2 days later, Jack texted me while I was at work. "Hey, hope you're having a great day at work. Brittany wants to come over. If that's okay with you, you're working until 9 p.m. today, right? I'll make sure she leaves before then." It had only been 2 days since she last visited. Jack assured me that Brittany would be gone before 9 p.m., but I couldn't help worrying about how long she might stay, so I replied, "Fine, but make sure she leaves as soon as possible." I wasn't thrilled about Brittany coming over, but since Jack seemed so happy, I decided to let him enjoy some time with his sister. The day was hectic at work, and I completely forgot that Brittany was visiting. But when I got home, she was still there. "Huh? Why are you still here?" As soon as I walked in, Jack noticed my mood and panicked, saying, "I'm really sorry. I didn't realize how much time had passed while I was talking to Brittany. She'll be leaving now, okay?" Jack glanced at Brittany, who sighed and said, Yes, I'll head home now." Brittany, clearly annoyed, packed up her things and left. Her attitude irked me, so I said, "What's with her? This isn't even her house. Doesn't she have any sense of propriety?" Jack responded, "You're overreacting. She came all this way just to talk with me." Jack said, "I thought to myself that they could have met somewhere else instead of at our house, but I was too exhausted to argue and replied, 'You're right, I'm sorry for overreacting. I'm really tired today, so I'm going to get some rest.'" Could tell Jack wanted to say more, but I was too weary and went straight to bed. The next day, on my day off, I was relaxing at home when Jack approached me. About yesterday, I'm sorry. Looking back, I realize I was wrong. I thought it would be nice for you and Brittany to get along, but it wasn't the right time for that. Since I hadn't had much time to talk with Jack lately and realized how important it was for him that I get along with Brittany, I said, "Oh, I see. I've been so busy lately that I haven't made time for us. I'm sorry for saying too much yesterday." Jack was relieved that we were sorting things out and responded, "That's okay. To make it up to you, I'm going to cook your favorite dish tonight, meatball pasta." With that, he started cooking, but then his phone rang. "Who was calling?" When I asked, Jack replied, "Oh, it was Brittany. I'm not sure why she's calling." I had a nagging feeling that it might be something troubling, so I said, "It might be urgent." Jack glanced at me before answering the call. I couldn't hear Brittany's end of the conversation. Call ended quickly. "So what did Brittany want?" I asked. Jack said, "She said she has something to tell me, so she's coming over here now," Jack explained. I was frustrated that I had to see her on my day off, but since she was already on her way, I kept my feelings to myself. "I'll make some of Brittany's favorite pasta too," Jack said cheerfully, starting to cook. He didn't notice my irritation, and I couldn't understand why he didn't just tell her not to come over. I decided this was my chance to speak with her directly. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Given how far Brittany was staying, I hadn't expected her to arrive so quickly, but there she was at the door. She had a large suitcase with her, which made me uneasy, but I let her in. With Jack still busy preparing lunch, I approached Brittany and asked, "What happened?" I asked. Brittany, with tears in her eyes, replied, "Actually, I got kicked out by my parents. They said I have no right to stay at their house because I wasn't working. Can you believe how terrible they are?" As my fears were confirmed, Jack chimed in, "That's awful. Families should support each other. They're really terrible for doing that." Jack's reaction irritated me, but since it wasn't my place to intervene, I kept quiet and listened as Brittany continued, "I have nowhere else to go, so I was hoping you could let me stay here." Absolutely didn't want Brittany staying with us and was about to refuse, but before I could say anything, Jack jumped in. "Well, if that's the case, then you'll just have to stay with us. Luckily, we have a spare room, so you can stay starting today." I shot Jack a frustrated look, and he responded, "What's with the glare? Brittany needs help." Unable to hold back any longer, I said, "What are you talking about? Don't make decisions like this on your own. Jack, you're not working and Brittany isn't either. I can't support both of you on my salary alone." Just then, something hit me on the head. I was stunned and confused, but Brittany yelled, "Jack, don't throw an egg at her." Brittany was laughing hysterically, and when I touched my hair, I felt the eggshells. "It's your fault, Mary. You need to be nicer to Brittany. If you keep this attitude up, we'll get divorced. And if we do, you know you'll have to leave this house, right?" Jack looked at me with a triumphant smirk, while Brittany watched with a satisfied expression. Seeing me silent, they took it as a sign that I was convinced and asked, "Mary, are you ready to apologize? If so, go take a shower, and then we can eat the meatball pasta I've made and discuss how the three of us will live together." Jack cheerfully went back to preparing lunch, and Brittany snickered at me before settling on the couch to watch TV. I had plenty to say to both of them, but for the moment I just grabbed Brittany's luggage and threw it off the balcony. They were stunned by my sudden action, exclaiming, "What are you doing? Are you out of your mind?" Jack panicked and told me to retrieve the luggage, but I responded, "What? Why should I? This is my house and I won't let you make any more decisions here." Jack countered, "What are you talking about? This is our house as husband and wife, so it's my house too, and I'm allowing my sister to stay here." I just scoffed and laughed, prompting Jack to ask, What? What's so funny? Don't you realize that I'm the owner of this house? It was given to me by my mother, so you have no claim to it. Jack and Brittany looked taken aback and said, Really? Oh no, that's not right. We didn't know you were the owner. Even so, since we're still married, it doesn't really matter, does it? They began mumbling among themselves, so I said, This house is mine. If you want to live with your sister so badly, why don't you rent a place for both of you? And why should I be responsible for supporting people who aren't working at all? Jack, you worked hard up until you quit, so I didn't say much about it. But now you're not doing any housework either. Honestly, I'd rather live alone. When I expressed my feelings, Jack responded, Oh, is that what you've been thinking? Well, I don't want a wife who won't support my family or even say thank you for taking care of the house. As Jack spoke, he pulled out the divorce papers. I couldn't help but notice how perfectly timed they seemed, and Brittany's broad grin made it clear that she had orchestrated this. I've already signed my part, Jack said. All you need to do is sign yours. I'll give you some time to think it over. Just let me know if you decide to apologize, okay? With that, they both left. I quickly took a shower, completed the divorce papers, and went to submit them. I realized that Jack probably intended to scare and threaten me with the papers. Even though it was Brittany's idea, Jack followed through, and I didn't want to stay with someone who would treat his wife like this. A few days later, Jack called and said, Are you ready to apologize? I don't have time for this. Shouldn't you have reached out to me sooner? Jack's tone, as if he was looking down on me, made me furious. I responded, Why are you calling me all of a sudden? Why should I contact you, someone who feels like a stranger to me now? Jack, seeming confused by my response, replied, What do you mean, a stranger? Is something wrong with you? Realizing Jack didn't grasp the situation, I decided to explain it to him calmly. I've submitted the divorce papers and it's finalized. We're strangers now. By the way, I've already sold the house, so even if you wanted to reconcile, there's no point. I also quit my job and am starting fresh elsewhere. And I've sent all your belongings to your parents. Though I'm a bit concerned since their place is small. Will everything even fit? Jack seemed bewildered, and I could hear him arguing with someone on the other end of the line. Anyway, you were the one who suggested the divorce. I have nothing more to say to you, and I want nothing to do with you. I'm blocking your number. Goodbye. Despite Jack's shouting, I simply hung up and blocked his number. A few months later, I happened to visit the area where I used to live. On my way home, I stopped by a supermarket and saw someone who looked like my ex-husband Jack, working there. It seemed he had made a mistake, and a much younger woman was reprimanding him. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't make me repeat myself. Other employees watched the scene and chuckled. I felt a pang of sympathy for him, but he was a stranger to me now, and there was nothing I could do. If Jack had handled things differently with his sister, perhaps he wouldn't be in this situation. Regardless, I'm relieved I divorced him. I'm enjoying my